Hi, this is Jake at Canadian Cutting Edge, and today I've got a Ganzo knife for review. It's a little bit older of a Ganzo. This is the G728, so it's not super old by any stretch, but I don't see a lot of reviews on this knife. It's one of their assisted knives with a liner lock, and it's just a very thin, simple looking knife. And I've had this one for since before I started this channel. I really like it, and it looks a little stabby, and that's probably why I don't carry it that awful often in public. But I like this knife. So stick around, we'll go to the tabletop and we'll take a good look at what makes this Ganzo tick. The Ganzo 728 comes with three different options for your G10. You've got your black, you've got orange, and green. From the Chinese stores, the best price I could find online is like $13.43 or something for this knife. Not bad. That's US dollars. Online in the USA, I could find it for about $1 more for the black one and about $4 more for the orange and green colored scales. All right, let's talk about some of the specs and get that out of the way for this knife. It's got a closed length of about 4¼ inches. That's about 11 centimeters. Open, it's about just over 20 centimeters, 20.3 centimeters, 8 inches open. The blade length is about 8.8 centimeters. That's about 5.5. That's not 5.5 inches. It's about 3.5. I recorded that wrong. And it's got a stone wash, 3mm thick spine, which is 0.12 inches roughly, and made with 440C steel, as they've designated on the blade right there. Let's see if I can get that to focus. There we go, finally. So there you can see a good picture of the stone wash. 440C steel. I really like stone wash. Ganzo does a good job with the stone wash. So I'm glad this knife came out with that. And it weighs 4.5 ounces. So if they would have see these liners, they're pretty thick. They're almost 2mm thick. That's where a lot of the weight comes from. G10 isn't very light either. So if they would have skeletonized the liners a bit and maybe made the G10 just slightly thinner, it would be a little bit lighter of a knife. Oh, by the way, that's 128 grams. You can see that the handle itself is a little over, just barely. Let's use it on this one so you can see it better. It's just over a 1/2 inch thick. I don't have my vernier calipers with me right here. Very close to 1/2 inch thick. The clip is tip up carry. It's quite a bit down on the end of the handle there, and so it sticks out of your pocket about an inch. It's a narrow part that's sticking out of your pocket, but still, it's about an inch. I wish they would have made it go higher up, maybe integrated one of these screws with the that barrel from the barrel construction there. You can see how they did a nice 3D treatment on those barrels. That's a good thing. So we've got two barrels, a lock pin, and the pivot. The lock pin, I'm surprised that they went with such a light lock pin. For having an assisted knife, I would have thought they would have gone with a heavier lock pin. They do with their newer knives. As I've mentioned on other videos, Ganzo has improved their production and their choice in how they make stuff, their decisions, every single time they come out with a new knife. And this one is one that's been out for quite a while. And so it doesn't have all of the feature enhancements that some of the newest ones do. And this is one of those knives where they transitioned between having proprietary pivots and pivots that have Torx screws. So this one looks like it's got proprietary pivot, but inside you've got the Torx option, so you can make your adjustments with the Torx, and all the other screws are Torx as well. We've got, at the thickest part of the handle here, it's about an inch. So it fits really nice in the hand. Small hands, medium hands, large will all find this quite comfortable. Somebody with really huge hands might find this a little bit too small. The width of the handle being an inch here helps quite a bit with that. And it feels good in any kind of grip that I've tried to hold it with. It just is a knife that is very easy to hold due to its simplicity and the styling right here. The liner lock doesn't have anything special to release, no jimping on there. There's no jimping on the knife anywhere except for on the end of the handle right here. Nothing on the blade, no ramp or anything. It's just one smooth line across the top. So the lines are simple, but they're kind of elegant, I think. Let's get this to focus down here. There we go. So the lines are fairly simple, elegant, nice looking knife. A nice hollow grind. It comes most of the way up the blade. That's a little over half an inch from the edge of the blade till where the hollow grind ends. So that's pretty good, and it cuts fairly well. The end of the flipper here becomes a nice little guard for your hand if you ever were to use it in a stabbing kind of motion. It would stop your hand from going forward too far. It might not be too comfortable if you hit something hard because it's just got that thin piece of the flipper that you're going to bump into, but it'll keep your hand safe from sliding over the blade. This is an older style clip that Ganzo has that comes down to the point and then has a little bit of flare up. Sort of looks like a serpent's head. Good retention, feels good. The texture on the G10 is just really nice for sliding in and out of the pocket with that clip. You got a nice size lanyard hole there that you're able to put your paracord through, no problem at all, to extend your grip. And you've got the option for right and left carry on that clip. So that's all about the specs. I spoke a little bit about how it feels. It feels really good in the hand. I used it for a while doing some hard tasks, and it just didn't get any hot spots anywhere. And that's due to the fact of its very simple, clean lines. Let's try to cut a few things with this knife and see how it goes. Now, let's start a little bit with this green banding that I have. Just slides through that without any hesitation whatsoever. It just works really, really well. And like I said, I've had this knife since before I started the channel. I started this YouTube channel just a little over 6 months ago. I have never touched the edge at all with anything, not even honed, not even with a steel to clean up the edge a little bit. This 440C steel does pretty good. It also tells you, like I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, I don't carry this out in public simply because in Canada we're not allowed to have knives for the purposes of self-defense in public. And I think it's easy for an officer to think that this knife is a self-defense knife and not a tool, just because it looks so stabby. Let's try something else. This is some cable from a game controller. No problem at all to cut that. Cuts really well. And this Xbox controller was made with a fair bit of stuff in it. It's got a bunch of, it might be aluminum or some kind of steel wiring inside that you had to cut through, metallic liner, the wires inside, 4 of them, and inside also is some string sort of that's similar to paracord, and you've got like 8 strands of the stuff. So I think I've shown, sorry about that noise, I think I've shown that it cuts quite well. Let's take a look with how it cuts some paper. No problem at all. And a little bit of newsprint. Don't get hungry seeing those frozen pizzas, guys. Not bad, eh? Remember, I said I haven't touched the edge at all. So the way they profiled this knife, the way they cleaned up their final sharpening of the edge, it's very, very good. It's equal on both sides. The grind is centered perfectly. It's done wonderfully. It is a fairly simple, straightforward blade to sharpen. I grant that, but they did a good job with it. Blade centering is almost perfect. It's very slightly to the left, as you can see there, but not by much. And I've not had to adjust it. I haven't adjusted the pivots in any way at all. I haven't taken this apart. My light here isn't quite right to tell for sure. Yes, it definitely is 2 bronze washers. And then with that torsion bar to assist with the spring, it opens quite well. So this is a cool knife to carry. For me, I carry it in private around the house, and that kind of stuff. Or if I'm out, away from people, if I go into the foothills of the Rocky Mountains or something, I don't mind taking this kind of knife. I just don't carry it in town. It's a fun little knife. It opens and closes a little bit too loud for my wife to let me do it while we're watching Netflix or whatever. But I can close it with one hand as well, very easily. Not a problem, either hand. It's no problem with a liner lock with the left hand. It just doesn't make... I don't complain about it very much at all because I can overcome it pretty easily, and most left-handed guys can, even though it's not perfected for left-handers. And this flipper, it just works every time with every attempt, and I really, really like it a fair bit that way. Actually, it's not a torsion bar flipper. I was wrong, because if you look through the center of this open pillar construction, you cannot see any torsion bar. There's a spring inside in the pivot here somehow that they've done. I don't know why I was just assuming it was a torsion bar construction, and it wasn't until I'm making this video that I look through and I go, can't be. So if I've got more information on the spring in here, I will get it to you before I release the video, and I'll put it in the annotations. So thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, please click on like. If you know somebody who wants a knife that's about $13.50 US from China, here's a decent buy. The steel's quite good. It's better than 8 Sierra 13 MOV that most Chinese knives are made from. From my point of view anyways, it is, and from most people who know steels. I don't claim to be a metallurgist. I don't claim to have researched knife steels extensively, but I know enough that 440C keeps an edge better than 8 Sierra 13 MOV, and it is quite resistant to rusting as well. Please mention in the comments anything that you want to ask or anything you want to say, and if you click on the like, I appreciate that very much. And most of all, I hope that you subscribe to this channel so that you will get notified of every video as it comes out. Nice edge on there, eh? Remember, always cut and stab towards your chum, not into your chum, but towards them and not your thumb. Thanks. Bye now.